Well, America is not going to be supplying long-range Tomahawk missiles to target Russia, not yet anyway. That, reading between the lines, is the breaking news from the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky. President Trump has just posted a readout of that meeting on social. Let me read some of it to you. The meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine was interesting and cordial, but I told him, as I likewise strongly suggested to President Putin, that it's time to stop the killing and make a deal. There does appear to be a contrast between that description of his meeting with President Zelensky and President Trump's description of his phone call with President Putin yesterday, which he described as very productive. This is breaking news, so we're just getting President Trump's readout of that meeting with President Zelensky. He goes on to say, enough blood has been shed, with property lines being defined by war and guts. They should stop where they are. Let them both claim victory. Let history decide. President Trump and President Zelensky did take a whole bunch of questions from the media in the White House before they began their meeting. In that news conference, President Zelensky praised President Trump for getting a ceasefire in the Middle East and said he did think that there was momentum for a potential ceasefire in Ukraine, but it was up to President Putin to agree it. And President Zelensky said, up until now, President Putin has not been prepared to do that. Meanwhile, a source with knowledge of what happened last time President Trump met with President Putin confirms reporting in the Financial Times that at that meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska, at one point Trump raised his voice and threatened to walk out. So in that sense, the meeting between President Trump and President Putin could be described as a last chance for the Russian leader. And President Trump even says President Zelensky could be there, although he accepts the two men are unlikely to sit down with each other. He says there is just so much bad blood between them.